Buckle up. Thank you for listening to John Sarabian and Mark Larhorn, Musicians and Beyond, where we bring you the backstage info on the life, lyrics, and long journeys of the music industry. Today, in studio with us, we have an incredible guest with us, Joe Pessia. He has toured the country and the world, and I would like to introduce and thank Joe for coming in. Joe, welcome to Musicians and Beyond.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Dude,
Appreciate
anytime.
Happy to have you here in the studio with us.
Yeah, well, John, I mean, we've been talking about getting my ass down here for a while now, so.
Yeah.
But if,
So you get a lot going on. Mm-hmm. You're in numerous bands. Right now you're juggling 5-6 different things going on. Can you just tell us how you manage your time and get all these bands together and everything works out for you?
it's a lot of juggling, and there's a lot of overlap, and you know, the cornpipe rocking chair years will be interesting. That's when the sleep will happen too. But it's so obviously Steelheart, and then Dark Desert Eagles with Pat, and then Hurt Smile with Gary and Mark, and then I also run a School of Rock in Wakefield, right? So that occupies a lot of time between those four things. So it's great though. But like I was saying, for when on air is like even Dark Desert Eagles, I'll plug their Hampton Beach Club Casino show coming up that I can't do because I have a Steelheart gig at that time. So sometimes there's overlap, but I mean, obviously you've been friends with Pat forever. So it was just, you know, when he first offered me the gig, it was, I had to be up front and say there is going to be overlap. And there's going to be times where, I can't do this.
Right. You can only be at one place at one time.
Yeah. Yeah. If that nut was cracked, then I'd be mowing the lawn, doing the dishes, right? Just my wife would monopolize that dynamic first before any of the band guys got to it.
Okay.
Right?
So I know who wears the pants there.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Joe, let me ask you, you mentioned your gig that you're giving up playing in Hampton Beach with Dark Desert Eagles. Where will Steelheart be playing?
Steelheart will be playing Wisconsin.
Wisconsin?
Yeah, yeah. And then there's one the day before, too. So, yeah, I've got my master tour up because after a while, like...
It's got to become very confusing. Logistics of on the road.
Just count me in. Just tune up and count me in.
So Steelheart's been around for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you an original member?
No, I've been with them for maybe about 5 years.
Yeah.
But the how things are all tied together is when I was in Drama Gods way back 10, 12 years ago with Nuno and K-Fig and Steve Filazzo, the manager of that band just happens to be really good friends with the singer of Steelheart, which I didn't know at the time, right? So years later, the singer for Steelheart is looking for a guitar player, and he's out in L.A., so it's not like there's a shortage of guitar players. And he went to bat for me. He said, "No, you got to get this guy, Joe. He's got a sunny disposition, and he's got a lot of bad jokes. So I think you should. And I think he owns a guitar, so you should give him a buzz."
All right.
And that's how that came about. And it's funny because even talking about like the School of Rock, I mention those things to the students, not in a way of, hey, look at this, but more of, this is why you don't burn bridges. And this is why you try to make sure you leave whatever project or band or situation, leave a good impression because people will remember. And you never know when that next opportunity comes up. And there's been bands in between the Drama Gods thing and the Steelheart thing, but you never know how that is all going to work out.
Right. For such a big world, it's actually a small world.
Yeah, yeah. And it all worked out, and they're good guys, and we've gotten to do things. Or I've gotten to go some places that I hadn't gone before, like India and Sweden, and so it's great. And like I said, so the cornpipe rocking chair years will be thoroughly enjoyable.
Excellent.
Later on.
Excellent.
Cool. You've talked a lot about being on the road and the sacrifice of being on the road. What do you think in your career has been the number one thing you've sacrificed outside of rock and roll? Outside of music? Stopping
and smelling the roses, for sure. And family time. Family time, for sure. That's the trade-off. That is the trade-off. But what I would look at is not only, because all the other musicians have to do the same thing. And, but also, if you were an athlete, especially like a baseball player, you have 162 games, you're missing a lot. You're definitely missing a lot. But there is only a window. I mean, it's obviously shorter for an athlete, but there's only so much. I can't be 90 and say, you know what would be great is I think I'll pick up an instrument and see if I can get in a band and go on tour.
Well, that's still happening for some people close to 90, right?
Well, no. But I think they're playing already, right? So it's like you have to go for it when you can go for it.
Yeah,
you know. Point. And the other thing too is travel. It's I mean, I'm not the one flying the plane, flapping my hands, but you know what I mean. That it does take something out of you when you do a lot of traveling. So
absolutely,
you gotta do it while you can do it.
Great answer.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So you are a musician. You play the guitar.
Yeah.
You play the bass also.
Yeah.
Any other instruments?
I did some mandolin stuff on Hertzmile stuff and some of the on the Dramagons track. But I wouldn't call myself a mandolin player. It was just, I remember Nuno was like, hey, it'd be great. It's a mandolin. How about I get a mandolin? You come up with some parts. Okay, I guess. And then it kind of, so it's but if I was hanging out with proper mandolin players, I'm not hanging.
Yeah.
Not
Okay.
hanging. You just let your ear dictate where you can go with it.
Okay. And above being a musician,
Yeah.
you're an instructor.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the teaching part was, I had, like a lot of musicians, especially around here, gone to Berkeley. And, when you get out, you've spent either a lot of money or you owe a lot of money. One of the two, right? And I said, you know what? There's no freaking way I am going to pay it back with something not music, because then that's backwards. I'm sure, you know what I mean? Maybe if I was the lumber guy at Home Depot and that would have been a steady, lucrative thing, sure. But I would still, as I'm writing out my check for my student loans, I'd be like, well,
threw a lot away.
Well, it's just like, what did I do that for? So I knew the teaching thing would always be baseline foundation of what you could do, and then from there you go and you start playing with people or trying to get your own thing going. But you can use that as a baseline income.
Yeah. For the teaching, do you focus on youth or pretty much any age?
Dentures to diapers. Yeah.
Dentures to diapers.
Yeah.
You've mentioned School of Rock a couple of times up in Wakefield. How did that project come about?
Well, I've been doing the School of Rock thing for probably about 12, 13 years. Okay. But I was originally in the Watertown, Boston one. And it was funny because just kind of glue it all together. A friend of mine who was the music director of the one in Hollywood is telling me, hey, Joe, they're opening one in Boston, School of Rock. He's telling me all about it. And, the kids laugh at this now. I'm like, school, I don't even know what that is. What is that? And he's like, no, trust me, you'd be perfect for it. And I'm like, okay, I guess. And I said, do they let you, and here was the caveat, do they let you tour? Because some places won't, right? You gotta, hey, I gotta bail. I got gigs in Japan. You have to have that freedom, or else then you've kind of suppressed what you want to do. You're still doing something you like with teaching, but it's like, I'm not ready to hand the baton over as, okay, I'm all done now, it's you. It's more like, no, we're all doing it. We're all on the conveyor belt, and there's people ahead of me, there's people behind me. Do you know what I mean? As far as accomplishments and the kids, some of the, they'll be doing great things, and some of them are already doing great. You know what I mean? So it's just when you're started, just by virtue of a lot of the age. And anyway, so I didn't know anything about it. I didn't have an interview. I got to give him credit. Carl Restivo, he just made a power call, and next thing the CEO's calling me up, hey, so you want to, okay, and that was it. That was the easiest interview job to get in my life, And then so when they opened up the one in Wakefield, which is part of Jam Spot,
okay,
it's the rehearsal complex, that's closer to home for me. And so I wanted to take that, and that's great too, because it is a rehearsal complex that we're kind of subleasing it through them. At any given time, Peter Wolf's in there rehearsing with his band, or Roseanne Cash was in there. Psychedelic Furs, you know what I mean? So it's you're just surrounded by all these people doing it, and whether it's a kid picking it up for the first time or a seasoned legend like Peter Wolf, you know what I mean? It's okay. That works.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
You shared the stage with quite a few people.
Yeah.
You've opened up Alice in Chains.
Yeah.
You've opened up for Sammy Hagar.
Yep.
Brett Michaels.
Yep.
Carlos Santana.
Yeah.
Jeff Beck.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, what's funny about all that to go through that list, there's different bands. So with different bands. So
cool.
The Sammy thing was with Hertzma, with Gary.
Yeah.
Alice in Chain things was Tantric. The Yes and Judas Priest, that was with Steelheart. So you just try to keep putting yourself in a position to do stuff and be rubbing elbows with the big boys.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because all those guys have gone very far.
Yeah. Well, slouch yourself.
Well, no, but you know what I mean? No, but it's funny. It wasn't just a one band, hey, we got to do all this and that was it. It's, you want to keep it going, and whatever project you're involved in, it's always something that is giving you some new experiences.
Yeah,
too.
That makes me think of something. I don't know. Has music evolved a little bit? It seems that when I was in high school, people were in one band.
Yeah.
And now it seems everyone's going outside the box and collaborating with other big musicians and joining other bands and taking everything that they can and kind of putting it all together. Does that seem pretty accurate?
I think part of that is that people making records is not what it was. You know what I mean? Because there's more people, there's bigger gaps in between making. Remember, when you were a kid, Van Halen or AC/DC, it was an album every year, maybe two. Oh my God, it's been 2 years since the last record. Now, 5 years goes by, you don't even flinch, right? So I think a lot of it has gone back to people just touring a lot,
Yeah.
And with people touring and maybe not having that home base of, we can just kind of be insulated with our own band making records and we tour, make a record, make a record. It's okay, we're touring and we're done touring. We've gone through that cycle. We don't have any shows. We got to wait. So I'll hop on the tour with this person, and I don't think it's mercenary. It's just the industry's changed. So I remember, we were talking earlier about some of the AC/DC stuff, and when Flick of the Switch came out, and there was a gap. It was a 2-year gap after For Those About to Rock. We're like, Jesus, it's been 2 years since they did a record. It's unbelievable. It was huge.
Yeah, 2 years was a long time.
Yeah. One of the bands that had it going the closest to like a classic, it was, the Foo Fighters. They had a run that it was just, it's such a great band anyway. But, they were always releasing new music, and you could, you know what I mean? It always seemed like they were doing something.
Right.
And releasing stuff. So, I think, Dave Grohl is such a classic old soul anyway. You know what I mean?
He's interesting to watch. He's a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah. Nice.
I mean, he gets the crowd involved.
Yeah. Well, he had a great quote. He said when they first started playing stadiums, did you hear this quote?
No, I didn't.
He goes. I'm paraphrasing, but so when we started doing stadiums, how am I going to connect with an audience that big? And he said there were only two people I wanted to reference for that: the Pope and Freddie Mercury. Right? And it's like, okay.
Wow.
It's nice you want to throw the Pope in there too. But because obviously Freddie was the master.
Yes, he was
for that. So, but one of the things I always loved about Grohl is he was even off stage, just this great rock fan. I mean, he plays with everybody. He's always doing something with somebody, but he always came across as just this. It was like the really talented kid who made it, but his record collection he just listens to everything and loves everything. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
It's great to see guys like that.
If you could be on tour with any one musician, alive or dead, who would it be?
Is there an opening band too, or a double bill, or
Who, if you got to perform with someone, who would you like to perform with?
I mean, Freddie would be definitely one of those guys. I'll play triangle for Eddie Van Halen, and then obviously, Paul McCartney. For a living guy now, it would be Paul, just because that's just that catalog is just ridiculous.
Incredible.
I saw him. I think it's the fourth time I've seen him at Fenway. This last time, and when a feeling, and he has the isolated John vocal in there. There's a video of John singing, right? That vocal, and then the screen splits, and it's him and John, and there wasn't a dry eye in the house.
I bet.
It's just like, you got to be kidding me.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, obviously John Lennon too.
Yeah.
So
you have a big Beatles influence?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, it's funny because it starts. The Beatles now. The songs are so ingrained. It's like Christmas carols. Like everybody knows them, and they're just that great. But as a kid, unless Hard Day's Night was playing on the TV, it was the Monkees actually. and which they were obviously molded after that.
Yeah.
But so that was the first. Probably would have been the first band, even though to what extent they're involved. I mean, obviously Mickey Dolenz is really singing, and Davy Jones is really singing, and Michael Nesmith did write, and and Peter Tork. But it was just seeing a band, and it looks like so much fun. It I still have yet to have an apartment like they did with a guy dressed up like a Jolly Green Giant. They had like friends like from different bands, but it just seemed cool, and obviously the stuff was very.
I always likened them to be a cross between the Beatles and the Three Stooges. That's.
Yeah, actually, it's funny. I think it was Mickey Dolenz who actually asked John Lennon, "Hey, so what do you because any interviews I've ever seen with John Lennon, he'll take the piss out of anything and just walk circles around you with his command of the English language and wit."
Right.
And so he was kind of afraid what the answer would be. He goes, "No, I love it. It's like watching Groucho Marx." That's what he compared it to.
I love it.
Yeah. But so it's just so I have a question for you guys.
Talk to us.
Ready? Should the Monkees be in the Hall of Fame, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame?
Should the Monkees be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame?
Yeah.
I am going to say absolutely.
Okay.
And part of the reason is they molded a lot of the musicians today, maybe yourself or, when you were kids, you looked at them and said, Jesus, I want to be these guys.
Yeah.
I want to be the Monkees. And
I want to get the fro that Mickey Dolenz had from the difference between season 1 and season 2. He had the straight hair in season 1, had the fro in season 2.
And then I think the next show was the Banana Splits. Is that correct? Chronologically on TV?
Channel 56.
Yes.
Something like that. Yeah, you had to turn the dial. And you actually had to
right
get
before
up.
Creature double feature.
You had to get up off the couch and change the channel.
Speaking of Creature double feature, years ago, when I was at Berkeley, and I was dating this girl from Japan, and everything's great, but the most impressive thing that I was just like, wow, I can't believe what a catch this was I found out her father was an extra. He was just paid, it was one day. He was in Rodin. He was one of the miners, I guess,
Really?
at the beginning when they discover Rodin. I'm like, your dad was in Rodin. Are you fucking kidding me? And it's unbelievable. It's like
didn't want to leave with that.
Jackpot.
You didn't end up marrying her, though.
No, I did not.
All right.
No. So you'd think that was a slam dunk at that point. Right?
Jesus, you let that one go.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But so the Monkees, and then obviously you remember the Partridge Family, and any of those things that the songs were very, especially for a little kid, probably anything too heavy lyrically might have been too much for a kid to handle at that point. So stay with Last Train to Clarksville and stuff like that. But it was just cool. It just seemed fun, and and I would always be singing the songs later.
Yeah, they were fun songs. There was still shenanigans behind the scenes, though.
Yeah, and then what you realize later on is shenanigans really are with bands. You're friends with all these guys, right?
Allegedly.
Yeah,
Names have been changed.
Yeah, Your Honor, I can neither confirm or deny, just like I said earlier.
Something like that. It's interesting. Before you came in, Mark and I were doing some research. We Googled your name, and it came up that you were a 2-year Pinewood Derby winner, 2 years in a row.
Yeah, I've actually tried to kind of keep that story close to the vest because I've been waiting for the statute of limitations to.
Oh, wait a second. Is there shenanigans that go along with this?
It's not a shenanigans. It's a scandal.
Oh, Jesus.
It's a scandal.
Mark, do we allow scandals in this room?
Absolutely.
We do now.
All right. What happened?
Okay, so and it was actually my first bit of press ever in my life too, because the local newspaper came down and they wanted to interview me. They said, make sure you wear your Cub Scout uniform to school.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, and there I was with my Pinewood Derby car and the trophy. But the thing is, I guess when you do the Pinewood Derby and then the next year you're supposed to build another car, right?
Yeah. I think I know where this is going.
Yeah. So this is like A-Rod, I have an asterisk next to the second one because all we do is just painted the car. Same.
Wait, whoa.
And won again.
Dude, come on.
Yeah. So right now, I hope whoever got second place, if they're listening right now, I'm sorry, right? Because they probably...
You stole the trophy.
No, I didn't steal it. I just massaged the win, right?
Massage the win.
Yeah. So technically it was the car, right?
Mark, didn't we, check these people out before they came on Musicians and Beyond?
Yeah. What kind of vetting process do you guys?
Yeah.
Oh, so
apparently
so stringent.
None. Apparently none.
But I was learning even then. You don't mess with something that you don't. If something works, you go with it, right?
That's true.
So
That's true. So,
you mentioned seeing McCartney at Fenway.
Yeah.
You're a big Red Sox fan.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
What's your favorite Red Sox or Fenway memory?
Fenway memory.
That's a tough one because you.
Yeah, Fenway memory. I mean, I was there. I just remember that first Fenway memory of my dad getting up and he was either going to get something to eat or to go in the bed, and my brother and I are sitting there, and there's two guys in front of us smoking weed, and we're clearly just little kids, and they're just passing the roach over to us, going, "You want some?" We're like, "What?" That's my first Fenway memory.
Wow.
I couldn't tell you who won the game. We didn't do it. But I was just like, these guys don't give a fuck, right? This would be funny. This was what they're probably
Hey, his
thinking.
dad's in the bathroom.
Yeah.
Let's get him high.
Yeah. So, but as far as Red Sox stuff, and this goes into the touring thing, is I don't know if you guys have ever interviewed Bronson Arroyo. Okay, so after he got traded to Cincinnati, for whatever, I didn't, it just so happened he was a Tantric fan. So, and I'm in the band Tantric, and we're in Cincinnati, and he wants to come to the show and hang out. He wants to get up on stage and play with us, and it was just funny because this is after '04, obviously, and all I wanted to do when we were hanging out on the bus, he's a really nice guy. All I wanted to do was talk Red Sox, and all he wanted to do was talk music. So it was like the complete opposite. And then he gets up and he sings, song.
yeah, he's not half bad.
No, he's good. He's
Yeah.
definitely good.
Yeah.
And we're walking off stage, and he's like, "Hey, would it be okay to come back on the bus?" I'm like, "Dude, you're on the fucking '04 Red Sox. You can have the bus if it's up to me. You don't understand what that means."
Yeah.
And I was just got to ask him, talking about Pedro because he was tight with Pedro, and I was just, Red Sox geeking out, and but like I said, he just wanted to talk music. So.
Yeah, he was a rock star geeking out.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So it's funny because it's what you don't, do. He sings and plays better than my fastball. I'll tell you that. So he can blur the lines easier than I can.
Awesome. You've mentioned your dad a couple of times.
Yeah.
Was he one of your inspirations? He was a musician as well.
He was a musician. He was a saxophone, clarinet player. So and he was a music teacher. So what was great, I still remember him explaining scales, and he's writing them on a pizza box, at the family, kitchen table, and just explaining it. And what was great with him is not only, the stuff he would teach me, but the fact that he wasn't a guitar player, that it really kept me in check because, if you play guitar and I play guitar, you could say, "Hey, Joe, check this out," right? And I'll know, oh, Jesus Christ, that's really hard to do because I can see, knowing guitar, I know that that's really hard. He didn't hear it like that. He just hears it as music. So that's really hard to impress. You know what I mean? So I don't play the saxophone. So if somebody came in here, I don't know how hard the fingering is on a particular passage that you're playing. I have no idea because I don't play it. I'm just going to hear it as music. And that's the way he would hear guitar. So that was great because it was really hard to impress him because he didn't give a shit. But you don't understand. I'm doing this. I don't know. Does it sound good or no? You know what I mean? Whereas another guitar buddy would be like, "Oh, yeah, man, I know how that is. That's tough. I've been working on that too." Or, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
So is he one of the guys that got you into music? Like,
yeah. Because, I have a vague memory of when I was very, very young, him conducting a school orchestra and me just walking up on stage while he was trying to conduct. You know what I mean? It was his first time I'm trying to go on stage. You know what I mean? It wasn't like a Will Smith moment, right? I didn't go up to like the clarinet player.
Slap him.
No, I was just up there and it just seemed cool. And I just wanted to be there up in here, because even later on when you go to Symphony Hall and you hear an orchestra for real, you can have the best sound system in the world. It still does not compare to hearing it in a proper room.
Right.
You know?
Right.
And so, hear it and see people, how are they making the sound? You know what I mean? And I just...
Yeah, it's just a vibration, really.
It's just a vibration, but I just wanted to be closer to it and closer to him, while he was kind of leading the charge.
So you had your father, you had the Monkees.
I had the Monkees.
What other inspirations did you have as a young kid?
Well, I mean, from there, you get more into, the first quote unquote rock record would have been Monkees' Greatest Hits. You know what I mean? And my grandmother gave me for my birthday. I still have it.
Do you really?
Actually have that vinyl?
Wow.
Yeah. And then you get into the Beatles stuff, and then you start working your way into, Casey Kasem's top 10 countdown, and you know what I mean, all of that stuff, and then you next thing you're getting into AC/DC and discovering Aerosmith and Van Halen and all this stuff.
Did you ever think as a kid that you would be a musician for your career?
I knew that nothing else interested me, and like I was saying earlier, I knew I didn't have the arm to pitch for the Red Sox, so that was out. That wasn't on the table at any time. But it was the only thing that interests me, and for better or worse, that's been a blessing and a curse, because my mother used to joke when she'd see my report card, I can tell this the subjects you're interested in, because it was there weren't a lot of B- to C+. It was A's, or especially when you need to talk about your son. You know what I mean? Because if I wasn't into it, I just couldn't apply myself. But if I was into it, then it didn't matter. I would do whatever I could. Yeah.
And you went to Berkeley,
Uh-huh.
Berkeley College.
Yeah. Yep. And that was great because I grew up in Westboro, right? So you have, a couple of kids from the town that are, really good, and, kids from other towns, the next town over, if you can ride your bike that far, right?
Yeah.
But then when you get into Berkeley, you're surrounded by, well, this is the best kid in his high school, or this is, some crazy guy from, Minnesota, and here's another one next dorm room over from Japan, and another one. And it was a great, I always said I learned just as much from the other students as I did from any class, because when you're not in class, the guy down the hall is just killing it on something, and you walk into his room and you want to see him play. And it also was great because it really drove home the point of people have their strengths. It's in other words, there'd be a guy down the hall who could sight read anything. He could sight read anything, but if you ask him to just jam, it's not as great as the other guy down the hall who, he's keeping up with his sight reading classes, but he's all feel and he's all art. And then you'd have, I remember there was one guy who could transcribe anything, and I guess as a joke, they rolled a bottle down a flight of stairs and recorded it, and the rhythm that the bottle made, they said, okay, you transcribe this, and he could do it.
That's pretty neat.
Yeah.
Yeah. So some musicians are really amazing. It's really...
but the other thing too is it also got me thinking, because I'm like, okay, some people their calling might be as a writer, not as the guy player, and then there might be another guy who maybe his songwriting is fine, but you give him something to play over and he'll just kill it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Because I remember hearing stories of, when you have somebody like Izzy Stradlin from Guns N' Roses. They said he was one of the main writers. That's what I had heard. And they would have to kind of decipher what he meant when he was showing them the ideas, because maybe Slash was more of the player. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But Izzy's the guy with these. They all wrote. So. Right. And I wasn't there. So, but the story that I heard was he was, one of the writers, and you kind of work up his ideas, and then you hand it into the rest of the guys.
Mm-hmm.
And then even he's a great player, but even the AC/DC stuff, Angus always got all the credit, but it was Malcolm, the guy in the engine room in the back, just pushing that whole thing along, and he was the guy who was making the final calls in the studio of just this, and Angus would even say, he goes, when I would be done recording a solo, I'd ask Malcolm, is this good enough? and Malcolm's work. And so Malcolm didn't have to be the solo guy. He could be the guy just writing these great riffs with Angus and Bon Scott or Brian Johnson. But so everybody has their thing. And then you see a band like The Who, where Pete's the main writer, right? But you're handing these vocals to Roger Daltrey, and he's just killing it, right?
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Or Cheap Trick with Rick Nielsen, right? But you've got this golden-throated guy. Brad Delp, same thing. Tom Schultz is writing a big chunk of that stuff, right? So, I mean, everybody contributes, obviously, and everybody's creative, but everybody also has where they shine the most. Yeah. And then you get a band, like Queen, who's just unstoppable because everybody's writing. Yeah.
Do you do much writing yourself?
Yeah, I love to write with a proper singer, a great singer. So I always, even when we're doing like recording the Hurt Smile stuff, and I love working with a guy like Gary. I can live vicariously through his abilities because anything I'm hearing, he comes in with all these great ideas.
Yeah.
But if I'm hearing something, I'm like, oh, cool, I got a guy who can do it. You know what I mean?
He is so humble.
Yeah, he's very.
He's incredibly talented. I don't even think he knows how talented he is. He's
great. He's great. And the thing that's funny is that usually the recording sessions. My favorite thing to record, hands down, is when you're working with a guy like that, is working out vocal harmonies, because he'll be in the booth and I'll be in the control, and with an acoustic guitar or something, I'll say, hey, let's try this, or Gary's like, hey, let's try that, and just working out and then just listening back to it. My favorite thing is just mute everything else, just listen to the vocal harmonies. It's my favorite thing to do, more than any guitar thing or anything like that.
No kidding.
Yeah. Wow. Oh yeah. But when you have a guy like, I've been lucky to work with some singers, and that's not lost on me. I mean, Pat's such a great singer, and because I get to work on some of his solo stuff too. You heard it's great. I love Nuno's voice. Millie from Steelheart's obviously a great singer. Even with Tantric, Hugo's got his thing. It's really unique. That's really cool. So that's still my favorite thing. When you're working with singers, because that's, at the end of the day, that's what you remember when you hear a song. You don't hear, hey, check out that chord voicing that he was doing. I mean, the musician side of you will, but the commoner side of you would just be like, I'm just hearing it as a song. And that was another thing. I was always drawn to bands and songs more than a particular, Van Halen was this great thing, because it was like, yeah, Eddie's solo was unbelievable. Loved it. But it's still only, it was a very short solo, and it was still in the confines of, wow, what a great song. Even if the solo was taken out, I'm still listening to that song again. As opposed to, oh, Jesus Christ, when we get into the guitar solo, something cool has to happen at some point. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's probably all comes back to, hearing the Monkees for the first time. I'm just hearing the songs.
Right.
And I've actually, I've been reluctant to want to learn those songs, because it'll take some of the magic away from me. Because I still hear them as a 7-year-old.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I do.
So I don't want to open up. I don't want to pull the veil back and see what's happening.
You don't want to see the man behind the curtain?
No.
All right, so Joe, you went back to 7 years old, and you talked about that for a moment, but who was the first band you played as a kid growing up in Westboro?
Yeah.
Did you have a band that you played in high school with or before?
Yeah, but nothing. You know, it was all just local friends and
Playing in your basement or
playing in the basement. First gig was at my sister's high school. She's older than me. So high school graduate. We got paid in beer. You know, we're only, you know,
I'd take that all day long.
Yeah. You know what I mean? But you're still kind of just, you're not even anywhere near even getting your sea legs together. You're just, oh, Jesus, we're playing in front of people. You know what I mean?
What was it like the first time going up on stage for a gig like that in front of your sister's friends and
Oh, yeah, and
your high school? Yeah.
It's nerve-wracking, but you know, like I said, I always looked at it as, well, this is what everybody else had to do too.
Right.
All the people that I looked up to.
Absolutely.
So you have to do it, and you know, you hope that you know, when you show, you know, head back to school on Monday morning, you're not getting tarred and feathered. It's okay.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's just stuff like that. It wasn't anything, you know, because you're just learning, and then some of it you're playing in bands, but you're learning just more about, hey, you know, working on original songs and how that works, and you know, there's no blueprint, because even though, you know, even a place like Berkeley, it's songwriting, you know, but that's still, I've always thought of that stuff as it's kind of reverse engineering stuff. You still have to have a creative spirit to do it, and also you're learning how to the give and take of, all right, I'm not hearing what you're saying right now. I'm not vibing on it, but we should flush it out. We should do it. When you're a kid, you're like, no, this has got to be the way, because that's the only way I can hear it in my head right now. And a lot of those formative years is just learning how to work with other people. You know, and you want to talk about, you know, people have all their insecurities, and you know, little do you know, somebody wants to just play this song because the girl that they sit next to in math class really likes it, and you know what I mean, or whatever.
That's actually a pretty damn good reason.
It's fantastic, and then you realize later on, you're like, just the level of arrested development that everybody's, you know what I mean.
Yeah, everyone's in the same boat.
Oh yeah. So it's all good. It's all good.
Yeah.
But
So
You've learned a lot over the years.
yeah. But the main thing is even now just trying to be aware of, you know, present in the moment of just seeing what is happening, and then you know, after you do it long enough, you can kind of see. You know, I always joke, you know, because if I see a situation that, you know, if I was 20, I'd be like, Jesus, what's going on? And now you see how it's all going to play out, and you're like. And it's like watching, like you're going to Rocky 20. Let me guess. He's going to lose the first fight, and then he's going to be out in the snow, and he's going to be, you know, hauling logs around, and then there's going to be a bunch of kids chasing him to cheer him on, and then he's going to come back. Do you think he'll win?
That's a great analogy.
So if a kid came up to you and said, Joe,
Yeah.
I'm really interested in music. I want to be a musician.
Yeah.
Can you give me some advice? What would you tell them?
I would say you definitely have to make sure you're going to be willing. You're going to have a thick skin, and you're going to have to be willing to accept the fact that things aren't going to be easy, because especially when you're first starting out, you're not going to money, you know. And can your ego handle the fact that there might only be 10 people? Then the next one could be 100. The next one could be 1,000. You don't know, but can your ego handle that? And are you willing to be uncomfortable? Because say, for example, your gig is 7 hours away. It's worth doing, but you got to get in the car, and everybody scrunched up, and you got to unload your own gear, and you got to, you know, not have a 5-star hotel. You know what I mean? You have to really slug it out, and some people that, you know, or the fact that you might be living paycheck to paycheck. You know what I mean? Like, how am I paying for it? My buddy got a conventional job, and he's doing fine. Is that more appealing? And you'll see people fall off. You see people fall off all the time. And there were guys, you know, when I was younger, really talented guys, but they just didn't have, it wasn't focus. It was just, you know, just the mental toughness. They're great musicians, but they just like, no, it's too hard. I'd rather just get the straight up job, and I'll play for fun. Which is fine. I mean, music's supposed to be enjoyed, but you know, do I want to sacrifice all of these other things? You know?
You've mentioned Gary Sharon a couple of times. Obviously, lead singer of Extreme.
Yep.
Hurt Smile.
Yep.
Was the lead singer of Van Halen for a while. Mm-hmm. You're very close to him. You do a lot of things with him. He's going out on the road with Joe Perry
Yeah.
from Aerosmith pretty soon.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think he leaves today.
He leaves
spoke
today?
spoke to him yesterday.
Excellent.
He had the
Excellent.
greatest line about Joe Perry because, hey, how are the rehearsals going? He goes, listen, let me tell you something about Joe Perry. And he said, he walks into the room looking cool. He leaves the room looking like a legend. And I'm just like, all right, that sounds like Joe Perry to me. I can believe that.
That's
Right?
yeah, that's great.
Oh, yeah.
So you have a pretty good story about the song Quake.
Yeah, because Paul Geary, the original drummer for Extreme, manages Perry, right?
Yep.
To my knowledge, and had gotten Gary a instrumental demo that Joe had done, and said, hey, check it out. And so Gary calls me up and he says, hey, I've been singing over this thing. I got this idea. Can I come over? Yeah, because I have a humble studio set up, and I want to put down some vocals. And so he came over, and then he was singing, sang. We tracked it and just messed around with some ideas. And it's Gary. It's Gary's. Those were his ideas, and I just kind of helped, throw in 2 cents every now and then. But it's all Gary. That song, and but because we have a working relationship, he feels comfortable bouncing. Hey, what do you think of this? It's still. What do you think of my idea 1 versus my idea 2? It's
Still his idea.
Yeah, but and then you try to from an engineer's standpoint just do a good recording for him, and then I guess he sent it back, and then Perry heard it, and Perry I guess loved it, and so they wanted to use it. He wanted to put it on. He wanted to use that recording, so they needed the wave files. They needed the vocal, and so it ended up being that I'm on the phone with Jack Douglas, who did rocks and
Yeah.
Toys in the Attic, and it's just like, okay, well, I'll send you the files, and I was just like, you got to be fucking kidding me! This fucking Jack, Double Fantasy, and that was fun. And again, for a kid from Westboro, that's not supposed to happen. I'm supposed to be at the grand annual opening of Dairy Queen, every year, the one Dairy Queen in the center of town.
Yeah. What's your favorite go-to at Dairy Queen?
Blizzard.
The Blizzard.
With the chocolate with the peanut butter cup chips.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good living right there.
Don't underestimate the cherry dip vanilla.
Cherry dip vanilla?
Yeah, it's tremendous.
That sounds okay. Yeah, I was.
Yeah, you never had that?
No.
That sounds so
That's
vanilla.
a staple. That's a staple. You got to.
Cherry dip vanilla.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It comes out with the hard shell and everything. It's incredible.
Okay. I'll try. I'll
Give
check
it a
out.
try. Westboro, Massachusetts.
Westboro, Massachusetts. It's in the center of town. I go as far back as that's where the Little League team would go for after games.
Excellent.
And
if you won, the coach would buy the ice cream.
Oh, no. If you won, we got to put toppings. That was like, that was the.
And what happens if you lost?
We still got to go, but no toppings. And then one time I still ordered toppings anyway, and I felt really bad, like I completely deceived my coach. Because, oh, shit, we didn't win, but I got the sprinkles. Fuck. Right?
Awesome.
Just like the Pinewood Derby, I'm just greasing the system.
I was just about to go back to that, but
Yeah.
what did you get after winning the 2 Pinewood Derbies?
I got trophies. And somewhere they're around somewhere.
No toppings, just trophies.
Yeah, just trophies. But I had karma come back because then I went to the state finals, and in the very first race, the wheel came off.
Oh,
And
no.
I lost. Yeah. So
That's what happens. You've referred to your hometown quite a few times.
yeah,
You were a paper boy as a little boy.
Uh,
And that's what helped purchase your first guitar ever.
yeah. First electric guitar was had a paper route, and it was only 3 different streets, 12 houses. That's about it.
Yeah.
And I bought an amp and a guitar combined for $80, and it was an SG copy, as a KSG copy, cherry red, because it looked like Angus's, and I was over the moon.
Yeah. You still have it in your collection?
No.
No?
That's my. If as far as letting go of a piece of gear, that would definitely be one that I would love to have back. But it's funny. Speaking of letting go and how things, Eddie Van Halen had these guitars, these Music Man guitars in the early '90s, and I had saved up. I wanted to get a purple one, and I couldn't afford it, so I put half of it on my credit card, which was my first introduction to watching out for how debt can get out of hand, right? But I was like, fuck it, I still want the guitar, so I saved up that, and I got it, and had it, and I loved it, but I was still when you're at that stage, you're just kind of getting going. You don't have you always have to move gear to get some other gear, right? And I sold that guitar to a buddy of mine, and I learned a very important lesson. I said, listen, I'm going to sell it to you. I'll give you a good deal. I said, but if you ever sell it, you got to give me first dibs. Sell it for whatever you want, but give me first dibs to buy it back. He said, no problem. And then after that, Eddie Van Halen left that company. They stopped making that particular guitar like that. And so I couldn't buy another one. And I saw my friend a few years later. I go, hey, you still got that guitar? Oh, no, man, I sold it. I'm like, really? That's funny. My number hasn't changed since all this time, son of a bitch, right? So I was so bummed out. And then some years after that, playing with Tantric, I get an endorsement from that company, and they're sending me guitars. And okay, great, but they're still not making that purple one. And I called them up and I gave them a sob story. And I told them that whole thing, and they go, "We'll make you a purple." So it was full circle that
Wow.
I was the guy.
I love that.
I was the guy who couldn't afford it, and I just had to get into a little bit of debt.
That's pretty cool.
Right? But I really wanted it. And then, sidestep a couple of important life lessons with friends, right? And then you get to a point where the company you're actually working with the company, and they'll actually just build you one. And it was funny. You go, yeah, John Mayer just called too, and we're building one for him, same color, everything too.
That's fun.
So do you still have the purple?
Yeah.
If you decide to sell it, let me know. Give me
right.
first dibs on it.
Yeah, no problem. Oh, I trust you.
Oh, yeah. That's your first problem right there.
Yeah. Because we all grew up with the all the stories, the Van Halen stories, right? You remember the brown M&M story? Remember that?
Yeah, the one he made them take brown M&Ms out of the
So they had to have M&Ms, a bowl of M&Ms in the backstage every show, but all the brown ones had to be taken out, right? That was it was in the Van Halen rider. And years later, you found out why they did that, because they wanted to make sure, because they had all these safety things within the rider, and they wanted to make sure people were really following the rider to a T. But for urban legend, it was just, what a bunch of, okay, I guess they don't like brown M&M.
Right.
You thought it was the coolest, most arrogant.
I thought it was an arrogant thing myself.
Yeah.
I was like, they're just doing it just to bust their balls.
That's a pretty cool QC check, right? I
Yeah.
mean,
So the most rock thing that ever happened to me was touring with Tantric, when we got to put together a rider. And so we had all this crazy, you know what I mean? They had pirates, peg leg pirates had to be the loaders and, stuff like that. But that never happened. But one of the things I put in is I said, I want all the brown M&Ms that were taken out of Van Halen's rider, and I want them in a bowl. And I want to, just, what I mean?
Just to fuck with
Yeah,
them.
this is like 4 a.m. Yeah, I'll add that. Sure. No. So we're in the middle of somewhere like Indiana or something like that. And we get to the venue, and the owner comes out and he goes, "Who's a Van Halen fan?" I'm like, "What? Me?" And I put my hand up. He goes, "I had the girls up all, late last night buying bags of M&Ms, taking all the brown ones out and putting them in bowls for you." And so I had these bowls of just brown M&Ms. He followed the ride, but I'm just like, in my little kid paper route buying Angus, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm like, wow, I somehow integrated the Van Halen rider into a band I'm playing with. Nowhere near that level, but for me it was just a funny, like, this is so ridiculous.
Right. Fun.
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that was
It's ridiculous. And if I were to tell my mom that story, she'd be like, she's still waiting for it to go somewhere. And you're like, no, Mama, you don't understand.
I made it.
Yeah.
you made it when
They'll take
pull all the
brown
brown.
M&Ms.
Yes. You're really on top of the world. No, you've done fantastic work. You've inspired so many people over the years. Your teaching, your music, your everything. You've done tremendous stuff. Is there anyone that you were kind of starstruck by when you met? Because you've met a lot of people.
Brian May, right?
I can see why.
Yeah, well, he's
the guy.
He's a Mount Rushmore guy, right? But the Brian May thing is that I got to meet him properly later. But the first time I ever got to speak to him was the days of answering machines, right? So someone calls and you hear the answering machine pick up, and I'm here in Massachusetts, and it's like 2:30 in the morning, and the phone rings. And Nuno was out in L.A. hanging out with Brian May, and he knew, we had talked to Queen millions of times, and he knew what a big fan I was. And I just hear the answering machine go off, and I just hear Nuno's voice going, "Joe, you there?" pick up, it's emergency, pick up. And I know he's in LA, and I'm like, man, if he's like broken down on the 405, I don't know what I'm going to do.
I can't help you.
I mean, you want to use my AAA card number, right?
Yeah, what the hell's he need?
Yeah, what's happening? And so I'm, that woke me up, and I'm you know what I mean? If someone says, hey, it's an emergency, pick up. So I pick up, and I just hear this, oh, hello, Joe, this is Brian May. And I recognize the voice. I'm like, you got to be fucking kidding me. Wow. And he put Brian on the phone with me. And I was just like,
That's legendary.
It's legendary. I wish I had a bit more of a cerebral conversation with him, because I'm just, you're part overwhelmed. You're asleep.
In half asleep.
And half asleep. And I just didn't know how to go, dude, a little warning would have been awesome, but I'll take it.
Yeah.
I'll take it. So that was, but yeah. And then when I did meet him for real, it was still the same thing. The guy is, just on another level.
Yeah.
But again, this is all stuff that, again, the cornpipe rocking chair use. That you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm going to start every story, even though I wasn't alive in 1922. I'm going to start every story like that. Did I ever tell you back in 1922 when Brian May? They'll be like, does anybody want to tell me he was
Dude's
alive?
150 years old,
No,
man.
does anybody want to tell me he was not alive? Nah, don't distract him. Let's just hear the story, right?
Put him back in bed.
Yeah, put him back.
Put
in
him
bed.
back in bed. Ah, cool.
You
Again, we want to thank you for coming in
thank you.
to Musicians and Beyond.
Yeah.
I do want to touch on one quick thing. And on behalf of Musicians and Beyond, we want to send our condolences to your family on the recent passing of your brother due to COVID. And I know it's very fresh and very painful.
Yeah.
And, we're sending thoughts and prayers. And there's a fundraiser coming up that maybe you could tell us a little bit about, if you would.
Well, the first thing I would say, with everything I've just said today, in regards to everything I said today, was none of that happens without my brother. And because we started together. He was playing drums, I was playing guitar. And, we wanted to be the Van Halen brothers, and, we wanted to, and lucky for me, because he played drums, so everybody had to come over our house, right? So for me being a guitar player, it made it easier. But none of that happens without him, because he was the guy who introduced me to, because I'd be in my bedroom playing and doing my thing, and he's the guy introducing me to all this stuff. And even before I was playing, I remember kids singing "We Will Rock You" on the school bus when it came out, and it was my brother's like, no, that's Queen, that's this, and I'm like, okay. And then he's the one introducing me to all of these bands. We're only 15 months apart, so but he had more of an ear to the ground than I was. Kind of insulated in my own little world, right. And so, and the thing is that, he would always be the sounding board for me, because if he didn't think it was cool, it wasn't cool, and I would, rely on what he thought. And, so first gig ever that I ever did was with him playing drums. So whatever journey I've ever been on, it started in the basement in Westboro with him. First gig started with him, and as I go off to Berkeley and stuff like that, he still played. He always played still, but he took a more traditional approach to life. You know what I mean? Wanted the stability and wanted a family, and he's got two beautiful daughters and a wife, and he had everything was the most enviable that anybody could have, because he just had everything. He just had his shit together on everything, and he was always helping people and everything like that. And but still, always the brother. So, and I could come back. Hey, yeah, we just did, played with Yes and Judas Priest. That's cool. Anyway, that's all I'll get. That's all I'll get, because he's. But I'll hear from his friends or the rest of the family go, oh yeah, he was going on about it. He was going on about it, and it kept you very grounded.
Yeah, it sounds like he was one of your biggest fans, in that you were one of his biggest fans.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because the thing is even as adults, we would every spring exchange lawn pictures. Hey, how's it? And he would see my lawn and be like, yeah, but what's this shit up there next to that tree over there. I'm like, it's a spot I got to get to. And
Sibling rivalry.
yeah. Well, it was only 1 year that I had the better lawn, and that's only because he moved into a new house and he didn't have enough time to but anytime I had a problem with a car, with a household appliance, with anything, I'd be like, hey, man, so how do you fix that? Okay, so this is what you do. And he would research it if he didn't have the full answer, and he'd come back and he'd have the answer. He's just that guy, and he was like that to everybody. But but we were growing up inseparable.
Wow.
Inseparable.
Yeah, I have never had the pleasure of meeting your brother,
Yeah.
but I have heard nothing but tremendous words about him. Again, it's a tragedy, and if we can help you raise funds, maybe we can tell people a website that they could go to make a donation.
Yeah, well, so what it's going to be is it's going to be on Sunday, July 17th, the North Attleboro Elks, 12 to 5. And it's also a car show because he was a big car. He actually worked on my Corvette for me, you know what I mean? And he was the guy who, and we had a little rivalry about that because he was the Grand National guy and I had the Corvette, and he's like, the shit boxes, blah, blah, blah. You know? but at the same time, he would always work on it. You know what I mean? Anything that needed to be done. And so what I did was for this is, again, he always got a kick out of the stuff that I've been fortunate enough to do. And so what I wanted to do is reach out to, friends and because there's going to be a raffle and donation, people can donate and, you know what I mean? So there's some stuff from, whether it be the people or people who work with them. And, a lot of friends really stepped up. So there's stuff from, Joey Kramer from Aerosmith and Skid Row, Extreme, obviously the Steelheart stuff, some Tantric stuff, even people that I've met, like one of the guys who works, he's one of the financial guys for the Red Sox. He's like, hey, I'll donate 4 home game tickets, great seats. And, you know what I mean? Just little things that if that's the incentive, you know what I mean, for people to donate and help the family because they, nobody was expecting this. And so it's a lot. And then there'll be there's been Platinum Thrill, which is actually my sister-in-law's brother, so technically my brother-in-law, he's the drummer. It's a great cover band, and they'll be playing all day. So a $10 entry fee, classic and luxury cars, the raffle, kids enter for free, and then it's just, it'll be fun for the kids and families too, because of,
Right.
Face painting and, you know what I mean, crafts and,
It's a nice family day, and it's for a fantastic cause for a very unfortunate situation.
Yeah, and so the whole thing behind it is just to give the family, to help the family out, because again, it wasn't anything anybody expected, so we got to try to help them.
Well, anything we can do, and if you're listening right now and you want to help out the family and help out the show that's coming up, July 17th, North Attleboro Elks at noon.
Yeah, and if anybody wants to look, it's mpmfcarshow.org. Okay, for more details. Okay, and it's anything anybody can do. I really appreciate. I really do.
Absolutely. Again, you're listening to Musicians and Beyond. Today we had a very special guest, Joe Pessia. His stories could go on and on. He could write a book. And I know he's super busy. And again, we appreciate him coming in. And Joe, we just want to thank you again for taking your time and giving us the insight, the funny stories, the serious stories, and the inspiration behind, the road that you travel.
Thank you. And I know you guys have mentioned the fundraiser multiple times on different episodes, and I really appreciate that. I really do.
We're going to continue on. And for those listening out there in the world, go to that website that Joe mentioned, and there's apparel on there. There's going to be auction items. The car show is going to be fantastic. Yeah. So make sure you get there. And when I tell you there are some cool items about to be auctioned off or sold off at the for this charity, you won't believe what he has lined up for everyone to be able to pick up and be a part of. So come out and support July 17th, North Attleboro Elks. Support the Pessia family.
Again, thank you for listening to Musicians and Beyond. Today's guest was Joe Pessia. Joe, thank you for being our friend.
Hey, thank you. And I thought we would just, this goes out to Pat, because Pat listens, right? I thought we were just going to trash Pat for an hour.
We could do that.
Another hour?
Thanks, man.